welcome back to the podcast. I am very excited about today's guest. I recently spoke at her summit, which was super amazing, super fun. And yeah, we've been in each other's orbits for quite some time. And when this particular question came up for an episode, I couldn't think of anyone better to answer it than today's guest. So the question we're looking at today is this one. I'm speaking to the right audience. I have a proven offer they want, but conversions in my launches have stalled. Sound familiar, right? Where could the problem be? So to answer today's question, I have invited the amazing Laura Kendrick. Laura is a fellow copywriter and shares a very similar approach to words where they're part of a bigger picture of a strategic customer journey rather than considered in isolation. So Laura joins me today to unpack the possible friction points that most launchers miss and why the customer experience is your secret weapon in this particular process. So welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Always good to chat to you.
I
You know
know,
that.
I know.
Yes. So I obviously know you, know what you do, but do you want to quickly give my listeners an overview of your genius and how you got to where you are today?
Oh my goodness, what a long, circuitous road that would be. How many hours do you have? No, the brief version of it is I fell into copywriting, honestly, because I fell into a different online business. I was a yoga teacher and I had a partner. We actually, I don't know if you know this, we had an
No.
online yoga studio for a while.
Yeah.
And it was the copy that kept niggling at me. Like, as you're
Mm.
learning all the things to build this business, that was the thing that I was like, this is so powerful. This is so interesting. I want to understand this. And then I started diving deep and then deeper and deeper and eventually found myself in pools that outside of being a copywriter, you had no business being in, right?
Yeah.
And so I made it my business.
How good.
Yeah.
Yes. Started out of a need and it's addictive, right?
Yeah, and it started I started specializing in the launch world, and then that evolved into I really just loved web copy in general, and that evolved into doing website copy, and then I really fell in love with website copy, like truly heart-shattering love when I realized the process of the user experience and that really and truly that is filtering these kind of two great loves together. Almost this conversion launch mindset with your website and then the website shifts into something that actually converts and isn't just a digital business card and that is super fun.
Yeah. Love it. Love your take on things because, websites, I think often we look at websites as something completely different to launches and sales pages, where in fact,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's the same mindset. You're taking readers on a journey and it needs to be super strategic. So let's dive into this particular question today. So obviously there's lots of aspects to it and we're just going to come at it from various angles to hopefully give this listener what they were after. So, as I said, like me, you're very big on holistic launching, holistic copy. So, copy as part of the bigger picture. Can you share with me what your take on holistic, in inverted commas, is and what makes a launch feel holistic both for the business owner and the audience? Because that's super important.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I think this word first came to mind when I was thinking about this from that like yoga perspective that we're talking about all the bits and pieces working together. And I found, especially in the launch space, actually in both spaces, honestly, but in the launch space, too many people really look at a launch from the perspective of like cart open to cart close. If we give them lots of grace, or if you are in the camp where you have like the lovely opportunity to have met and heard Brenna McGowan speak, then
Love Brenna.
yes, yes. And she's done a really great job of getting people to understand that pre-launch is a thing, like a real thing, a real strategic thing, not just a whisper of there's something coming. Like you really have to get in there. But I think that's a small view of it because it is truly a full marketing cycle. If you are launching, that is the trajectory of all of your marketing where and I don't mean this in you're always trying to sell, it's that you're always aiming for the arc of that launch. So you have to think of those times in your marketing phase where you are growing your audience, you're bringing new people in whatever capacity you do that. Then you're in that space where you're getting to know each other. So they're wondering, am I in the right space? Do I like this person? Is this like, are we talking the same language here? And you're doing the same thing. You're figuring out, especially if you have like a high ticket offer, you're figuring out if you like them. And then we start to tip into that pre-launch and launch space. And then I actually believe that there is a space of a post-launch where there needs to be, and this is not just the post-launch of where you look at your analytics and go, oh, what happened here? What was great? What was bad? Yes, you need to do that too. But there's a beautiful element in your marketing and in your user journey that needs to be honored in the few weeks after that cart closes before you tip back into, okay, let's grow the list again.
Absolutely. And then if you follow that arc, which is genius way to describe it. If you follow that arc, I feel also people don't feel like a transaction, like they just were
Right.
used and abused in your,
Right.
in your launch funnel because there's a whole bunch of emails coming at them, probably social media, they might see ads. So there's this whole ecosystem of content and noise, and just continuing to take them on that journey after the launch is just
Yeah.
acknowledging and respecting their time they've just spent with you, even if they didn't purchase, which, let's face it, only a small percentage of people
Right.
actually convert.
On the first arc. That's the thing. There's successive arcs. And if you just look at this crash, it's a problem. That being said, too, where it meets the business owner is if you're looking at it in this gorgeous, long, spaced out kind of section of time, and especially if you have it mapped out over the year, like how many times do you launch in a year? Is it twice? Is it 3 times? Rather than, I can't tell you how many times. And hey, look, I've done it too. Like we've all done it from a space of scarcity or I have this genius idea where we're like, I think I'm going to launch something next week. And yeah, except for that's not good for your nervous system. That is where we get into the very like frenetic, like stressed out containers that so many people experience in a launch that is unnecessary. If you look at it in this wide space, then first of all, you have months to gear up for the next launch. You also get to sit and from this perspective of, I'm in a relationship with these people. It's not just that transaction of I need all this money to come in now and I have 5 days to make it happen. It's like, no, 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 no. You have 5 months to meet folks, build relationships, set up the things that serve you, listen to them and make adjustments. Like, I mean,
I know the magic of audience research and actually listening. It's like it sounds so easy, but so powerful.
it is. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no, I'm like you, obsessed with taking people on a longer journey and totally accepting that the time might not have been right, the financial situation might not have been right this time around,
For
but that
sure.
doesn't mean you're not worthy to stay on my list, worthy to be in my orbit. So super important to shift the perspective to, well, they didn't buy, to, oh my God, they're still here. They stayed for all the launch emails. They clearly are interested. Let's just continue that journey with them and see what happens next time around. So, when someone comes to you, reaches out to you going, Laura, oh my God, you need to help me. My launch is just not working. People are interested, but they're, for whatever reason, not buying. What's the first thing that you look at in their funnel, in their launch experience overall?
Honestly, for me, because and I know there's gonna be a lot of people who wanna, like, jump up and hit me for saying this, but and, like, because the numbers are so important, and I do look at those, of course, but that's not where I, like, naturally gravitate to first. My first thought process is, "Let's talk to the people." Like, what is something has shifted here and let's make sure that it's in alignment. And yes, the numbers are going to help us suss out possibly what that is. But honestly, one of the most effective things can simply be asking people, just asking questions. And then, by the way, shutting up and listening.
Magical.
Because
Yeah.
so often we just, and I mean, we all get caught in it. I will be doing voice of customer calls for clients. And I'll hear people, especially if they're kind of like in the marketing space or the business space, and as I'm listening to their clients talk, like I have to fight every urge in my body not to coach them, not to be like, okay, well, you could try this, and I have to just sit back and be like, okay, I'm hearing a story. I'm hearing a story. This is great. This is great. And you just have to listen to their words and empathetically hear them and just digest them and allow them to speak. And honestly, there's often so much gold in just listening to what's going on. But also, yes, the data. Like the more data you have, the more we can actually figure out where were the holes? Like where did we actually lose people? Like where on your sales page and with a heat map, where did they stop scrolling to? That's interesting. But also the listening, because then you can kind of feel where that perhaps it was that particular headline, that particular piece, it's just off a little bit. It's not speaking to where your people are right this minute in this moment in history.
Mm. And the funny thing with politics, the world in general, what
Yeah.
worked last time round
Yeah.
might absolutely
Yeah.
not hit the mark this time.
For sure.
That's why it's so important, as you said, to have constant conversations with your audience rather than going, well, I do my yearly
Oh my gosh.
survey and we're
No.
done. Actually listen,
Yeah.
actually pay attention to shifts, even in the online space. Like, people need to hear from you more often before they trust you because there's just so much noise and things just shift constantly. So, yeah, definitely listening to your audience with intent, not just for the sake of it. It does make a huge difference.
Gosh, yes.
So I'm always interested. You obviously have worked with a whole bunch of online business owners in the launch space, and I love real examples. So I wonder whether you could share an actual example where people might have thought, I just don't have enough traffic, low demand is the problem, but the problem actually was somewhere else. Do you have some examples?
I actually have. It's funny you're asking this question. I'm actually thinking of an example of my own that is really fascinating that this just happened. And I had a friend who pointed it out and was like, I hate saying this to a copywriter. I'm like, please, because we all get too close to our own crap. Like, please say the thing. But it was actually, you mentioned the Mixer Mind. It was something I posted in the Mixer Mind a while back, and it was so good. And everyone I talked to was like, this is so interesting. And I'm really down for it. But the post itself, like the conversations I had with people moved, like absolutely ran with things, but the post itself got like no traction. Like nobody responded to it. And I'm like, what went wrong here? And it was interesting. It was simply the positioning. I just had it in my own head of like, hey, we're figuring this thing out together. Like my usual casual self, as though I was talking to a group of friends and not thinking about it of the fact of this is actually a written word post in a pile of other written word posts. It needed to be positioned differently. Like and it wasn't, the offer was so good. The messaging was solid. It was the positioning of it. It was simply the way the ask was being put was just a little off kilter for that audience. And when somebody pointed it out to me, I was like, damn.
Well, ah, that's where objective perspectives are so great, right? I feel
Yeah.
often we think we've got it all. We got it all sorted because it all makes
I
sense,
never think
right?
that.
I've fallen into that trap and then went, of course it's not selling because it doesn't make sense to anyone but me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Right. Or it's simply, I think that's a good example because it was that probably that exact same wording would have worked really well with a different group of people. But given the group of people who is in here and their like experience level and their kind of where they are in their journeys and kind of how they see themselves in the online space, it was just a little off where it was like, me, no, like, I don't have time for that.
ew. Crickets, no. Yeah, that's where launching is so beautiful, isn't it? There's so many moving pieces. And if one piece shifts or is off, it just can let down the whole funnel. Oh my God, the beauty of
Yeah.
launching.
Yeah, I think it also, like, at the end of the day, when it comes to launching, my friend Karen Gillan, I think, says it best, where she talks about having spaciousness. And the more space you can give it, the better it's probably going to do. Certainly, the better it's going to feel, but it gives you time to be agile
Yeah.
within the launch. It gives you time to be present and actually hear the things rather than, and I know the operations people will, this is going to make their nervous systems like freak out, but it gives you the space to be, like, in real time versus having things just queued up in your ESP to send out emails and queued up in your social media scheduler, and then they just go. Instead, you could actually be a little bit more present in that moment and kinda notice how people are reacting to things and then adjust from there. But you can't do that if you're crashing into it. If you're already super stressed, if you are barely holding it together, it's just not gonna work.
It's not. I reckon your audience, they vibe with it too. I think they pick up if you are actually in the moment as much as you might have pre-scheduled part of the email. But if you're actually responding to what's going on in the launch process, it resonates much better. Like I love to incorporate even social proof of people
Yeah.
joining my membership, for example. I did that in my founding member launch. So had a super short intake survey as soon as they signed up and just asked a powerful question, what made you join? What are you trying to achieve by being
Love
here?
that question.
Yes. And then, little screenshots in the email, like just giving people ideas around why others are joining the membership. And again, it's live, it's in the moment. People know people are actually joining. There's that
Oh,
element
yeah?
of FOMO, which is genuine because people are joining, things are happening. So it absolutely pays off to absolutely schedule and plan. I feel your emails because as a control freak, I would freak out if I didn't have anything ready to go. But like the bones, you can structure and prepare, but then absolutely, as you said, jump on those genius conversations you're having with someone who's interested, for example, people who are joining. So incorporate that into your launch and your audience is going to feel the energy and also the vibe that you're not stressed out and that you're in control and it's actually enjoyable.
I hate to tell you that this will, like, make your skin crawl probably. I actually have found more freedom in not scheduling
At
anything
all.
anymore.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I will occasionally schedule an email for, like, 2 days from now, but or a day from now, but no further than that. Like, if you go into my Convert Kit or Kit, shall we say now,
Yeah, yeah.
there's nothing queued up. Like, it's just there's no drafts, there's nothing. It's just whenever I need to do it. But it's interesting because the last summit I did is actually when I really let go of that. Not that I was, like, really scheduled out to within an inch of my life, but I finally just kinda was like, "Screw it." And I started and it was really fun because we were actually on vacation when we were doing it. So every morning I was waking up and I was popping up the app I use to write in, and I was just venting stuff, and then I was just editing it down and sending out the email that day.
So cool.
And they did really well. Like, those emails did way better than, because of course I went in with a few scheduled, but then during that time I was like, I lost my creative jive somewhere in there and creating, like, because in a summit you've got like the emails for people who aren't in, the people who are in, the people who have done this and done that. And it's like, oh my God, there's so many emails.
Tons.
But it was freeing to be able to respond in the moment to questions I was getting in my inbox. It was freeing to be able to give the social proof. It was also freeing and telling that I was commenting on things that were happening in real time in the world. So even if you didn't know, like, even if you were like, "Oh, she could have done this ages ago," then something would pop up that had to do with, like, some movie was released or this actor said this thing or, something, and it was just,
Mm.
"Okay, well, we're actually doing this right now.
She's
Here
actually
we are."
here. She's a person. She's paying attention. I think even that is refreshing, right? Like going, oh, it's not ChatGPT talking to me. My God. But that's the beauty again. I think like so often we get told by various gurus and people and experts that you have to do it a certain way.
Oh
See,
my
like
God,
you
no.
have to work with your
Yeah.
personality as well. So
Yes.
I'm totally panicking if I don't at least half know what's happening, which is my German control freak. But for you, for example, if that stresses you out, the whole being organized, and sometimes life just pulls apart on you. So you have to be reactive and deal with it. But yeah, definitely bringing your personality into it and going with
Yeah.
the flow.
There are no
Absolutely.
shoulds.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
And
to do it
yeah,
your way. Yeah.
anyone telling you have to do things a certain way, oh my God, run.
The
Run.
only thing I'm telling you is just don't crash into a launch, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that means to
Have
you.
Yeah, I think at least think about it. So have something mapped out, like some sort of arc. As you said,
Yes.
can be
Yes.
totally vague, but as long as you know the journey you're taking
Yeah.
your audience on,
Yeah.
that's the main part. Talking about arc and journey and emotions, lots of them in a launch. What do you do to pick up on your audience's flow of energy in a launch? Like there's that initial excitement and then that mid lull, usually, where you go, oh my God, no one's buying. What's happening? So, how do you try to structure launches in a way that potentially even works with that energetic flow?
Yeah. I think it comes down to understanding that no matter what you do, that is always going to happen. Because the two most powerful people, like if you think about your like local gym, the biggest times of day where people show up at the gym are first thing in the morning. Those like 5 a.m.ers, they are hardcore,
That's
right? They
me.
are there. Yes, yeah. And they're the ones who are going to show up 7 days a week and they are there religiously. And then there's also the evening crowd. But if you go to the gym at like 2 p.m., there's people there but not a ton. You're not waiting. You don't have to actually abide by the like, you can only use this treadmill for 30 minutes. That doesn't matter because there's nobody there. So use it for 3 hours if you want to be that person. But I think there's a like that there's a human element to that. And so that's what we have. We have the people who are the A students who are or and the people who are like chomping at the bit who are like, "Oh, yeah, I've been waiting for this." And we've all been that person who's been like on the wait list, like we genuinely signed up for a wait list because we actually wanted that thing. And here it comes and yes, it's my time. I'm getting in. Great. There's a huge rush. And then there's also the last minute people. And also the occasional I have totally been this person where I have sent the big lie email where I just regret not doing it like the next day and then being like, "I was traveling." I've
Yes, I
done that.
was busy. Just please.
They let you in most of the time. But that is not I haven't done it a ton, but I have done it from time to time. If you get that email from me, hopefully I was traveling, but I might not have been. I might have just had like deep,
Well,
deep regret,
one extra sale. I'm sure they're happy.
right? But you have those last minute people who they're just either weighing it out or they haven't read their emails or they just kind of get that final like pressure point where they're like, "Oh, okay, yes. All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to do it."
let's do it.
And they run. And then there's that middle where it's everybody else. It's the 2 p.m.ers. It's the people who are like, well, maybe I'll go to the gym today. Maybe I won't. Or I have things to think about. Or, there's various thought processes that are going on there. But if you can think about that knowing, so if you know, first of all, like regulate yourself, you're going to have a big hit in the beginning and you're going to have probably, I should say, because not always. And then it's a huge letdown when everybody says you have this big hit at the end and then you don't. And it's like, but you're probably gonna have a hit, not as big as the first one at the end, typically speaking. And then in the middle, you'll get a trickle. And that trickle, and it also depends on the offer, because if you have an offer that only needs like 10 people in it, then you got to think about that. Like you're not going to see huge numbers of people coming in, but thinking about how can you kind of energize the people in that middle space. And honestly, one of my favorite things is be you. Like let your little freak flag fly. Like step out of the kind of norm of things. But then we are also like, don't forget there's also like a psychological process of selling. And there is a reason why we send particular things at particular times because these are the things that people need to know. But hey, here's the thing. If you don't know what they need to know, ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Yeah.
People love to be folded in. I actually remember the days when I was in grad school and I was waiting tables. And I used to have to tell like some of the other servers when we would get slammed, right? Everybody's super busy. People are having to wait an extra long time for like even the first step of getting a drink. And I would always tell them, like, do you not notice that when you go to a table and tell them, like, hey, look at the shit show I'm in right now? And that, like, I see you, I'm coming, I promise. Then you have these happy customers who are thrilled to be there. They feel like they're a part of the chaos and they feel seen. They're like, yeah, she's got me. She's not just ignoring me. She's not just a terrible waitress. She's busy. Pull their heads out of their own world and notice, and they feel like they're a part of it. And that's the thing. That same mentality works here too. If you ask them what they want, they feel like they're a part of it, and then they're bought in. They're on the journey with you. They see what you're doing. And they're like, ooh, this is a human. And so they're more your friend than, the transaction on at the bottom of the balance sheet.
Communication, funny concept,
Right?
isn't it? Like two-way. It shouldn't be just you
Right?
you talking at them.
Yeah.
Actually talk with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's powerful. But sometimes I feel, again, we like to, as we said, schedule things in advance, be totally in control. And then that throws a curveball, right? If people give you information, it's like, what do I do with it? So it actually is beneficial. It can help you even, as we said, tweak those final emails, incorporate the little golden nuggets someone gave you. Like, it's super powerful.
I mean, maybe have that like compromise of they're in your ESP as drafts and
Mm,
not quite scheduled so that
yep.
you can just
Yeah.
do it.
They're not set in concrete.
Yeah.
It's not a like foundation for the house. It can evolve over time during the launch. I feel like sometimes newer launches, like people new to launching, maybe that gives them peace of mind as well. And with every
Yeah.
launch, we learn stuff
Yeah.
and we get new insights. That's the beauty of it as well. Like, you can't rinse and repeat. Every launch, you tweak your funnel, you get better at it, I feel, and you become calmer because you just have seen it and you know how it works. So don't stress if your first launch is not necessarily,
Don't stress if
flying
you're,
success.
yeah. And don't stress if your 20th launch isn't a flying success. I actually had a client who had a launch, she came to me afterwards, and very successful business owner, like pretty well known in our world. And she had a launch that 0 people signed up for. And like this was not normal. It went from pretty standard for her to nothing.
Yeah, wow.
And to take that and sit back with that and think to yourself, what can I learn from this rather than let it crush you? That's really the kind of the golden nugget that is this
Yeah,
entrepreneurship thing. If you can take that as okay, what happened here? And also, by the way, know that it has happened before. So you are
yeah.
not a total failure. Your business is not like the offer's not bad. It's just something shifted. Something shifted and something didn't align. And some simple tweaking might do the trick. Maybe it's time for a big change, but that's a case by case basis assessment.
It's good to see sometimes that
Yeah.
even the big
Mhm.
experts who've been around for a while struggle as well. I was listening to Brenna McGowan's podcast, which is brilliant, by the way,
What does she
yesterday.
do that isn't, by the
I don't
way?
know. She's just clever. She actually was our guest expert in Retention Lab last
Fun,
month. So if you
fun.
want to have a little bit of her genius, absolutely check it out. But yeah, so Brenna had Laura Belgrave on, who, for
Yeah.
listeners who don't know, like, she's royalty in the online space. And Laura was just pretty much discussing what you just said, this successful mastermind that had been selling super easy for years, felt really, really hard and slow. And she basically decided to shut it down until working with Brenna on pre-sales and building that emotional arc that we just discussed. And rather than just, dumping it on people in the summer break, actually priming them, pre-selling, warming them up emotionally. So if Laura Belgrave can get caught up in that cycle, yeah,
I
don't
mean,
get disheartened if it happens to you.
that's a really good reminder though too, is sometimes we can, especially if you've been doing it for a while, you can get caught in oh, people just know what this is. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's well known, it's going to keep going. And that can trip you up. That almost, I hate to say it, but it is kind of a little bit of ego kicking in. It isn't like, yes, Laura Belgrave's email list is monstrous and she has unbelievable success behind her. And if she's running into like if anybody can sell on like coattails alone, people like Laura Belgray are it. But it also, in some moments, it becomes harder when you kind of have almost, I feel like it may have, and I don't know, I wasn't on the inside of any of this, but it could have been like kind of burned through that like big loyal group who was going to do it at some point and just hadn't kind of, what's the like, ramped people up, gotten people into the
Yeah,
space where they were ready who weren't part of that first big loyal group. And because that happens.
absolutely. Complexities of
Oh
online
my gosh, so many.
launching.
Yes.
Just a little bit of comfort for anyone who goes, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
so hard. Like it can happen to anyone. It's how you deal with it
Yes.
that,
Yes.
makes the difference. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to look at after the launch because
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't just launch, we touched on it before. So what's one practical thing that you do immediately after a launch to nurture your audience and, particularly those who didn't buy to make them feel valued?
Just one? God, I hate it.
One, to get started.
I mean, because I do agree with the asking them if you have the ability or feel comfortable asking them why they didn't buy is powerful to understand that so that you can kind of address that in the future and fold that into your messaging. But I also don't feel like that makes people that's helpful for you, not so helpful for them. I really love the idea of honestly folding them into the launch, sharing a bit about it, and not in a braggy way of like, and especially if you're business to business. Or if you're not, if you are business to customer, if they're on a similar journey, like oftentimes people set up a business that is kind of to them a few years ago, a few steps back. And so sharing some insights of what it felt like for you, maybe emotionally or physically or kind of in whatever way you serve them, certainly tying it in because we don't need to get into like, the TMI of I'm a copywriter and I'm sitting here like, oh my God, my grass is so long. Like, who cares? But we can, it actually is. We need to mow it. But folding it into like, what did that feel like for you? And if you are business to business, like sharing some of the wins and the losses, because that's going to make them be like, oh, you're human too. It's going to, again, bring them into that. If we're going back to that story in the bar, it is, they feel like they're a part of it. So you have bred a little bit of loyalty, a little bit of a connection. They feel like they're involved here. And you can in those emails like share, but then your call to action can be asking for them to answer a question or respond to you with something that gets the conversation going back and forth. And not in a way that's intended to sell, just in a way that's intended to be like, hi, name an email that's on my list. I don't know who the heck you are. Can you let's bring you out of the pile and let's talk human to human because we are humans.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Behind the scenes stuff works a treat. I think we're
But not
all
like a jerk.
curious. Oh, not like I made
That's the
5 million,
thing.
like
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
even talking about how the launch
Do you
felt,
remember that?
you
Oh
know.
my God, those screenshots. I'm so glad that fad has
Well, I feel
ticked
like it's
away.
still it's still around in some corners of the internet. Like the whole
I
I
know.
made 7 figures in a month and you can too if you follow my framework. So
Yeah.
not in that kind of way,
Yes.
but in like an emotional, like it felt like
Yeah.
this for me. Even thanking, like I have a habit of thanking people if they actually stay for the whole launch sequence, just acknowledging, like, I know you didn't join this time, totally fine, but thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate you. Little PS like that just works a treat. Just acknowledging,
Sometimes
like,
giving them a treat if they
mm,
do that, like a little into even just like a lead magnet you have hiding somewhere, or some. I have seen some folks who have smaller audiences will do some form of like a call or something. You know what I mean? Like they'll
yeah.
gift them some kind of access point, which creates a little bit more of that community sensation as well.
And again, looking after your biggest fans, the people who
Hmm.
clicked a whole bunch of times on the
Yeah.
sales page, clearly interested, clearly not the right time or,
And
financial situation.
remember that
Mm,
even if they never buy from you, they could be somewhere in the background being your biggest cheerleader. So,
exactly. Yeah.
you're putting that good karma out into the universe of supporting somebody and people will
Yeah.
support you back.
Yeah. Absolutely. On that note, I want to leave people with something they can do today. So, if they're planning their next launch, what is one low effort but high impact tweak or strategy that they can incorporate into their launch funnel or into their launch process overall that can instantly remove friction. What would you say?
And I think adding more space in some capacity, and whatever that means to you, adding that spaciousness. Maybe it's that the cart's open a little longer or a lot longer. I don't know. That depends on you and your audience. Maybe it's about, instead of crashing in next month, being like, okay, let's do a little bit more lead time and like maybe join that bundle or that summit or push my lead magnet for a while and try and grow my list a little bit longer before I go into this. Maybe it's actually sitting down and mapping out like an arc so that you feel that. However that feels to you, folding in just a little bit more spaciousness is like, Karin giving me that word for a launch has been like the greatest gift
Yeah.
when it comes to launching. And I want to share that with you because I think that will not only calm your nervous system, which, by the way, people can feel even through an email, and it makes it so that your audience has space to breathe and absorb, and like they'll feel it too, and they'll be grateful for it because, y'all, we got a lot on our plates, and everybody's feeling the weight of the world these days. Oh.
Yeah. We can all do with spaciousness,
Yeah.
not only in launching, my God, all the spaciousness. But yeah, love it. What a good way to wrap up this episode. All about spaciousness, really being forgiving with yourself in the process as well. And I feel listening to your audience and having a two-way conversation rather than talking at them. So many golden nuggets. So good. Laura, before I actually wrap up, I've been saying this 3 times, I think. Last question, promise. This is one question I ask all my guests. If you could ask one person, one expert, a particular burning question you have about the customer experience, the customer journey in general, what would that question be?
Here's the thing. I and I fought this for years because so many people told me, like, you can't be this way. I am an overgiver and I like being an overgiver. And I finally stood into my own way of, you can't tell me not to be an overgiver. So, but that is a hard thing to, the bigger your audience gets, the more clients you have, it gets harder and harder and harder to be able to like give and have these dialogues. And so I think for me, it would be, how do you maintain these like really warm, amazing customer experiences and just all the things without, losing your mind in your inbox or in general?
Without losing sanity. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Great question. Let me sit on that and see
Okay.
who I can invite to answer it for you.
I can't wait.
My listeners, I'm sure, are going to want to check you out and connect with you online. What's the best way for them to track you down?
Yes. Well, I'm at cheekycopy.co is where you can find my website. And hopefully by the time this launches, I have updated that because it desperately needs it. And I am at Cheeky Copy on Instagram.
Awesome. So go and check Laura out, send her a DM because there were so many amazing
Would
nuggets
love
in this
that.
one. So many good, refreshing angles on launching and copy and doing it in a way that doesn't burn you out. So, if you also have a burning customer experience question, you know the drill. You can submit it via the link in the show notes. You can do so anonymously, or you can get a little shout out on a future episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with anyone who might be remotely interested. And subscribe, leave a review, and thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.